Let me talk about the issue that of race, which came up. Jim Clyburn, Byron, the congressman from South Carolina, after the vote came in last night, was reflecting on what had happened. And this is what he said. Let's watch.
I'm not surprised at that at all, because I really believe that in the last 48 hours, the voters kind of recoiled. They kind of decided to reject the racial animus that seemed to be developing, and I'm so pleased.
The voters recoiled. Congressman Clyburn had said earlier in the day that Bill Clinton had been using, in effect, code words that really made black Americans nervous. Those are very strong comments coming from someone who was neutral in this race.
You know, I don't think you can overstate the amount of anger created in Democrats by Bill Clinton's tactics. I mean, they were very, very unhappy with him. I was talking to a Democratic strategist the other day who said, my wife just got in the car. She's driving to South Carolina to volunteer for Obama. They were that angry at what Clinton had done. And he also said, you know, Clinton is trying to turn him into Jesse Jackson. And sure enough, after Obama wins big, what does Bill Clinton say? But, well, you know, Jesse Jackson won here too. But, you know, Hillary Clinton was kind of reduced to her core constituency in South Carolina. She had problems with everybody except for white women. 80% of black women voted against her, 80% of black men voted against her, and 72% of white men voted against her. I mean, she was down to a very small constituency.
Ron Walters, a professor at University of Maryland, made this observation the other day on NPR, and I want to share it with everyone. The only way that Obama is going to be elected is to try to neutralize race. And when you're talking about Bill Clinton and so far as they try to blacken Barack Obama, what they do is play on the divisiveness of the racial sector. The objective of the Clinton campaign is to make him blacker, which is to call out his blackness and therefore to complicate his constituency, which is predominantly white. And then Bob Herbert, Maureen, of your paper, weighed in with these very powerful, forceful words. It's legitimate to ask, given the destructive developments of the last few weeks, whether the Clintons are capable of being anything but divisive. The electorate seems more polarized now than it was just a few weeks ago, and the Clintons have seemed positively gleeful in that atmosphere. It makes one wonder whether they have any understanding or regard for the corrosive long-term effects on their party and the nation of pitting people bitterly and unnecessarily against one another. What kind of people are the Clintons? What role will Bill Clinton play in a new Clinton White House? Can they look beyond winning to a wounded nation's need for healing and unifying? These are questions that need to be answered. Stay tuned. Two black voices in academia and in journalism with very stern words for Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Well, it was astonishing, the spectacle of seeing a so-called first black president trying to destroy a would-be first black president. I mean, we've never seen anything like this, and it was very personal between Obama and Clinton. And I think that in the end, Hillary gave up a good narrative for her, which is that she had carved out her own identity and that it wasn't going to be the Bickersons back in the White House. And you just saw the Clintons, and Mitt Romney was right. You visualized her in the Oval, him in the East Wing rambling around looking for mischief. And it was, you know, it was a very seamy. Phil Gailey, who's the editorial page editor of the St. Petersburg Times, said watching Clinton in South Carolina was like watching a mad dog slobber. It was about him. And, you know, as The Onion said, you know, the Onion headline was, "Screw it, I'm running for president," by Bill Clinton.
Well, Barack Obama, in his editorial board session with the Nevada paper, did say that Ronald Reagan was a transformative president, unlike Bill Clinton and Richard Nixon.
And that clearly got Bill going, yes.
Chuck Todd, ranking Democrats, they endorsed Obama, and yet someone like Tom Daschle, the former majority leader, said this: I think it's not presidential. It's not in keeping with the image of a former president. Pat Leahy, Obama supporter, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, castigated the former president for what he called the glib cheap shots. He is not helping anyone, and certainly not helping the Democratic Party. John Kerry, the Democratic standard bearer in 2004, said this in a radio interview with the National Journal.
Being an ex-president does not give you license to abuse the truth, and I think that over the last days, it's been over the top.
That seems to be so personal, so direct, ranking Democrats, Obama supporters, but nonetheless taking on Bill Clinton, a two-term Democratic president.
You know, there's a few things going on here, particularly with congressional Democrats, that I think we shouldn't overlook. Is that, you know, Bill Clinton never had a great relationship with congressional Democrats, and there certainly is a battle for control of the Democratic Party that I feel like you see play out in Clinton and Obama. I mean, it was not an accident that Daschle, and you've seen a lot of senators start to gravitate toward Obama, that there's some old personal feelings, I think, that have come up. I mean, certainly the John Kerry remark, there's something there that I think he feels like he didn't get the same kind of help in 2004 and this and that. But, you know, it does feel like, though, that what Bill Clinton is doing is that he read a poll and he said, okay, how am I going to get her to 51%? Okay, we got to figure out how to drive white men away from Barack Obama. We got to figure out how to drive Latinos away from Barack Obama. That's what works on February 5th. And, you know, he may not ever say that, but it feels like it's a very tactical thing that they've done. And I think that's what, you know, is going to offend the Beltway corridor, the Amtrak corridor. And you're seeing a lot of sort of the New York and Washington Democrats who are probably going to keep coming out against Clinton on this.
Maureen, Dowd, you wrote on Wednesday, it's odd that the first woman with a shot at becoming president is so openly dependent on her husband to drag her over the finish line.
I know, we're seeing all these astonishing things in this race, and it worked in Nevada and New Hampshire for, I think, Bill Clinton helped her there. But in this case, I just think it raised the deja vu of the Clintons will drag anyone down to their own level and trash anyone to make up for what is missing in them or what they have done wrong. During impeachment, you know, they were trashing the founding fathers. Bill Clinton's lawyers actually filed a brief saying, well, Alexander Hamilton had a tawdry affair and he wasn't kicked out of office. So it's a very debilitating dynamic, you know, to drag everyone down to their level, especially when you have this alternative of optimism and hope. And they were willing to put a dagger in the heart of hope. I mean, Obama should just beat them over the head every day with the idea that Bill Clinton said he represented false hope. Because the only way they can beat him is to beat down hope and inspiration and bringing young voters and expanding the party, and they want to kill all that, and that is not a good, you know, situation for them.
Byron, looking at Super Tuesday, Hillary Clinton, however, is very formidable, well-financed, well-organized throughout the country, does have some overwhelming support of women voters, does have very strong support from Latino voters. And that coalition can be extremely helpful in California, New York, New Jersey, her former home state of Arkansas. She still is, in a big way, in this hunt.
Oh, absolutely. That's worth thinking of. When you look at the demographic makeup of South Carolina, there aren't that many states like that. Georgia is close to that. Alabama is close to that. But all the big states, the big prize states, do not have nearly the black population that South Carolina does. So the question is, can Hillary Clinton suppress that, you know, white vote for Obama that he showed he got in significant numbers in Iowa and significant numbers in New Hampshire, which he lost, but he still did, you know, pretty well. So that's the whole point of South Carolina, was to try to suggest that all these white voters earlier had looked at Obama and said, this is a man who wants to be the president for everybody. But maybe he really wants to be the president for black America, and to try to drive white voters away from him, and that is what is making the Democratic establishment so angry.
Tim, one of the most striking images of South Carolina, Jeff Zeleny wrote about today, was the Confederate flag flying near the Capitol and Obama workers holding up Obama placards, and it's, you know, an amazing historic image.